right.
Well, thanks for coming, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Greg. Good to
So,
see you again.
well, I mean, look, we go way back. Like when I first started here, it's going to be 16 years next week
All
that
right.
I've been at the company. And you and I met early on, hit it off. Your brother is the one that started me on video way back then. I still have a video from the atrium up on Raintree
Oh, wow.
where we had the big lights, and
Yeah.
he's in there and putting all the little lavalier things that had strings on them. Now they're all wireless, right?
Yeah.
And that was my first introduction to that, was through you. But you taught me a lot about finance and stuff. But before we jump in there, I just want to know what got you into finance and what were you doing right before?
Sure. Uh, I went to college and got a finance degree, and I was just headed that direction the whole time. So there really wasn't anything before that other than college.
What made you pick it in college?
Well, about 2 years in, I was just, you got to pick something, at some point. I didn't really even have a major when I started college, and bouncing around a little bit. And ultimately, I picked business and finance because I was just always intrigued. I always wanted to be a stockbroker, right? I was
Oh,
like, okay, I'm going to be a stockbroker. And I didn't know what that meant other than what you saw on TV.
uh-huh.
And they don't really teach it in college. You would think they kind of would, but they
No.
don't. And I didn't know that meant you had to go get all your own clients. I thought you got to work for some place and you're a stockbroker, right? And they
Yeah.
pay you a salary or whatever, but it doesn't really
It's
work
not like
like
that,
that.
is
It doesn't
it?
work like that. And so,
What's that, Pursuit of Happiness, where he's like hammering the phones to get clients? You're like,
oh
I didn't
yeah,
know that
I
was
lived
what it was
that
going to
life,
be like.
for many years, just in the boiler room, just banging phones, and calling, you know, 100 people out of the phone book before you call the one good phone number you have, because you need to be able to, you have to have
Yeah.
your rap down, ready to
Yeah.
go.
So you graduated college with that degree. Did you get placed or do an internship that got you in your career of where you went next?
No, sadly, I had no guidance through college, wasn't smart enough to talk to counselors, didn't do anything, got good grades, got a good finance degree, but all I wanted to do was go snowboarding after college, and I went and was pursuing to be a professional snowboarder for
Wow.
two years after that, working at Snowbird Ski Resort in Utah. And
Nice.
about 2 years into that, it was going too good. I was gonna probably do something with that. And then my parents were like, "Hey, remember that college degree we paid for? It'd be cool if you use that instead." And so that I came back to Arizona and just got a job in a boiler room selling mutual funds. Just the absolute highest, coolest job
I was gonna
to
say.
the absolute worst job on the planet for no pay whatsoever. Just hey, good, go get him, Tiger.
How long were you there?
I was there for about, gosh, I only made it about 9 months out of that deal before I went to lunch one day and just didn't come back because it was just so taxing and so horrible just to be told no, 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 no over and over again. And being 23 years old, 25 years old, or whatever I was at that time, it was like, okay, there's got to be a better way.
Mm-hmm.
And I quit one day, and I was working at, I had rent to pay at the end of the month. So I went and I was bussing tables at the Paradise Valley Resort,
Wow.
that was like from to that. And then, 2 months into that deal, I was like, okay, I got to figure out something better than that. And my friend worked at NYLife, and she said, I can get you an interview there. And I said, oh, I'll take it. Anything's better than bussing tables. And I went in and just told them everything they wanted to hear. They hired me on the spot. It's not that hard to get a job selling life insurance, right? If you just tell them you can do it, they're like, okay, come
We'll
on
give
in.
you a shot.
Yeah, give it a shot. And it turned out, that lasted 14 years,
Wow.
and I did a pretty good job at it. And
Now,
but
did you stay in life the whole time there, or did you start moving into other stuff?
Well, that was, about halfway into that 14 years, I started really going towards money and money management and whatnot. If you're in the life insurance world, that means annuities, right?
Right.
And that's how you make good money. But it's just really, it wasn't my passion. And so, halfway through that deal, I started looking elsewhere, wanting to go independent and just really become a money manager and be a financial advisor, planner.
Did
type
you
of guy.
manage money there, though, while you were at
Yes.
New York Life?
Yeah, I had a pretty substantial book that I had built up.
What's the most money you ever had under management?
At New York Life, I was probably 10 million,
Wow.
so, but, a third of that was actual mutual fund money management. The other 2/3 of that was annuity business, which was, it's not the same thing, and,
Right.
and it was, you end up realizing that a lot of times annuities are better for the insurance company than they are the client, and I started losing sleep over that, and living in the commission world where you got to kill what you eat every day, right? There's no you're only good as what you do tomorrow, right? What you
It's a
did
new day
yesterday,
every day.
it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
And so if you had 5 phone calls to make today, you're going to call in the 5 people that have new money, because the other 3 people, yeah, you made them a promise, but they don't have any new money to invest with you, so
Right. I've already got theirs.
you already got theirs, so
Yeah.
I'm going to call these guys. And I'll call them tomorrow. And I started losing sleep over that because it just wasn't the right way to do it. And then I started really wanting to go to the other side of the coin, which was fee-only, independent, registered investment advisory world, where you charge a fee for assets under management, and that's the only time you ever discuss money with your client, or payment anyway. After that, they know if I'm calling them, it's in their best interest, because I'm not making a commission every time I make a trade or make a phone call or anything I do for them.
Oh, cool.
I'm being paid a flat fee per year.
A lot of people don't know that there's differences of how they get paid.
You're right. That's a whole nother video in itself, and it's just
What is the differences?
the difference is, if you're in the commission world, you sell I'm even using the word sell, right? It shouldn't even be like that. It shouldn't be sold. It should be help. These people retire. If they retire, they've got $1 million in their 401k after working 30 years. If you sell them an annuity, you get paid a 6-7% commission up front one time.
Off the value of the policy.
Off the value of the pot, and you make $50,000-$60,000 pop, and then you're off to the next one. And you're supposed to keep servicing those people forever. But
they're incentivized to just go get new business.
Right, yeah, you're no longer being compensated anymore. So it's hard to work for, even though you got paid handsomely up front. After 1, 2, 3 years, that handsome commission payment starts to fade away.
And then when you went to the fee base, that was more like, hey, I'm helping people, and I'm incentivized to just continue to help them.
Right, yeah. Now, more or less the standard in the industry is kind of like 1% management fee per year, which is significantly less than a 7%, right? So if you got $1 million account, 1% is a lot less, and then the company takes a little piece of that even, so you don't really get it all. So it takes about a 6-7 year period to break even to do that. So
Right.
It was really difficult to go from the commission world, making solid 6-figure salary, or income anyway, it wasn't a salary by any means, but to moving to the fee-based world, where I had to build it back up, and then once it got going, then it's beautiful, because now you're never having a communication about fees or anything with your client ever, other than one time up front. And
it's more relational and less transactional.
So relationship oriented, and that is what I've been all about. And so now for the next, it'll be 30 years here that I've been doing this. So 14 of it was commission world, and now the other 16 has been fee only world, which is really around when I met you, more or less. I had just made the switch about a year before that when I came to Nova, and so I was in the spot where I was just rebuilding it from scratch. And now after 16 years, it's gotten to where it's good. I don't need to make a sale every day to pay my mortgage, right? It's all.
What's the most you've had under management here at Nova?
Well, that's not really something some people discuss, but yeah.
I asked the tough questions on this podcast.
Yeah, you do. At this point, I'm about to hit 140 million under management.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
So thank you. Yeah. It's going pretty good, and we're just keeping people happy. That all comes from referral.
Yeah, but that's 16 years of building a business, taking care of people so they don't leave,
right?
And that they refer you more friends and family. And now you're talking next generational stuff. So you got to be helping some people that are like, hey, my son's now making some money. Can you go to coffee for him? Can you take care of his money?
It is. It's
right.
Yeah, that's
generational transition of wealth.
That's happening. Yeah. I would say 90% of my clients are retired or about to retire within a year or two. So I still have some clients for sure that are working and that are professionals and need help planning their retirement and funding it and sending their kids to college and things of that nature. But most of my clients are retired, and they save their money for 20, 30 years, and then they retire, and that's it. They don't have any more money. They can't can't lose it, number
Right.
one. They need to live off of it. Retirement's a fancy word for you no longer have a paycheck.
Yeah.
So if you no longer have a paycheck, how do you keep paying your bills and live your life and go on, buy the RV and do the classic retirement thing, that whatever your thing might be, we help people get that done, and we help them with the tax planning and the investments and the, and then
Protection.
just everything in their whole world. We're helping them buy houses. We're helping them refinance their cars. I'm a full-blown financial planner. I'm in their whole life. I'm managing their entire financial picture, not just their money management. And they all, they have my cell phone number. I'm like family to a lot of people. And I really love it because that's the relationship that I thrive on.
It is a big responsibility.
It's a massive responsibility.
Right. I mean, that's a lot of
Starting
money.
to lose a little sleep a little lately because it's pretty.
I'm sure there's been multiple markets that you've had lost sleep over.
And all this stuff, because,
Well, I mean, look, so 30 years in the business, that's 7-ish election cycles, that's multiple markets, that's real estate cycles that you've been going through as well, where people are like freaking out because something's happening in their real estate. So they're like, hey, what's going on with this portfolio?
Right.
Or this is going down, real estate's going up. It's, you're there just to be like, you're their advisor.
We're trying to diversify it and keep not all their eggs in one basket. And, the goal is net worth. That's your goal. Assets minus liabilities equals net worth, and it's some people think if they take money out of their investments over here that they've spent that money. Well, it depends on what you spend it on. If you bought a car or an RV, those depreciate, but most other things appreciate, if you buy, especially real estate, businesses, things of that nature that you can get into. We're looking at things that if you take $500,000 out of your portfolio and buy a house or something like that, well, that house is going to go up in value. So it's not like your net worth depreciated. You
Right.
still have, if you started with $2 million and now you got a $500,000 house and a $1.5 million portfolio, you still have $2 million worth of net worth. And that is hard for people to grasp that, and you have to show them on paper what that looks like and how to make, do we put loans on it? Do we not put loans on it? It's all about the tax brackets that run. The IRS runs your whole life in retirement. You're just really trying to play by their rules, and it's a moving target all the time.
You know their rules and then play the game.
Right. Yeah, we know their rules. We play the game, and then we just figure out. I just tell clients every day, tell me what you want. What do you want? You want a new car? You want this for your? You want a house? You want to just be happy sitting at home on a Saturday?
When they were younger, they go to their parents asking them what they want.
Yeah.
Now they go to you.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I really want to get a car. Can I do it?
And I tell them, I'll tell you, yes, you can do it.
And here's the best way to do it.
Here's the best way to do it.
Yeah. Draw from this, pull from that.
Right, yeah. Or I'll tell you, well, if you do that, that's going to do this to your rest of your portfolio. Maybe you don't want to do it at that level. Maybe you should try this instead, And they're like, oh, we never thought of that,
Yeah.
And so,
I know you can't give advice, right? But can you tell me a definition? I've heard the word and the term tax harvesting.
Oh, yeah.
Is that a thing? Like sell certain...
Well, yeah, tax loss harvesting is the word. And that's generally... Well, it is for non-qualified accounts. So a non-qualified account is anything checking, savings, brokerage account, anything that's not a retirement plan. Okay, a qualified account is going to be your 401k, your IRA, your retirement plan, so to speak. And so inside of non-qualified plans, which is your after-tax accounts, if you buy something for $10 a share and it goes to $20 a share, well, that's a capital gain when you sell it. Or if you buy it for $10 a share and unfortunately it goes to $8 a share, well, that's a capital loss, And so all portfolios that we have, I wish I was perfect and they would all just be plus all the time, right? But nobody is. You got your winners and your losers. And so what we're trying to do is mitigate the capital gains for the year that you pay taxes on. So if you've got a big winner over here and you got kind of a loser over here, it's better to sell them against each other because then they wipe it all out. If you got a $5,000 loss over here and a $5,000 win over here and you sell each of them, boom, there's no taxable
liability,
due.
zero.
So even though you lost $5,000 when you sold this one position, it saved you 20% capital gains tax on this over here.
Smart.
So you're looking at, okay, well, how long is it going to take for that $5,000 loss to really come back. I mean, nobody has a crystal ball, but you're like, man, that one's been dragging for a
It's
while. I don't
let's
know how
sell the
long
dog.
it's going to take. We're better off just taking the win, which is the quick win, the tax loss harvesting win. And so every year in, November, December, we're looking at everybody's portfolios and seeing what they've got in there that we can sell or buy to make the, because overall their rate of return is going to be not affected in that.
Correct.
And so we're just trying to mitigate their taxes all the time because there's your enemy.
That's the game.
The IRS is your enemy. They're always trying to take more, and every election cycle they're going to increase your taxes. That's pretty for sure.
Well, and it's your job to know that game and know those rules to say, how do I protect my clients? And, maybe we're selling some over here, maybe we're picking up something over here, but that the tax rules right now and what we should be thinking about. That's
all we can plan with is what we have today, and we got a little bit of an idea of what's going on tomorrow, but it's pretty cloudy. We've got the Trump tax plans that are in place. They're supposed to sunset at the end of 2025. But if Trump gets elected, do they stay? If he doesn't get elected, do they get rid of those? I mean, we don't know. And I don't care how many CPAs or guys you talk to with Harvard degrees, they can't tell you either. No one knows until it actually happens.
Yeah. So let me ask, of the top, let's say 20% of the people that you have and handle their money, what are some of the things that they've done over the years to really move the needle in their net worth? Or have you helped them in certain ways? Or maybe the top couple characteristics that they have. Sure.
There's if you're looking for somebody to just hit home runs all the time, I'm not your guy. I'm a slow and steady guy. And like I said, 90% of my clients are retired already. So I have 3 goals with all my clients. Number 1 goal, get you the money you need every month to live on. And that's based off of however much you saved up, right? That's a pretty easy calculation. Number 2 goal, don't deplete principal. If you got $1 million or $2 million or $5 million, well, we're trying to make sure you don't lose. You start with that, you end with that. Number 3 goal, if all the stars align and everybody, you have more money than you need, or you're not spending all that you do have that you could be taking every month, or we get some, then we'll grow your portfolio. But most people, growth is from 18 to 50 or 60. From 60 to death, let's just maintain, right? We just don't want to lose what we got most of the time. If you got a $12 million portfolio, you're in a different story, right? That's a whole nother ball game. But the bulk of my clients have $1 to $5 million. They even if they have $3 million, they don't want to lose a third of it in a 30% downturn market, which I've seen plenty of in my time. They're going to lose sleep over that, and I'm going to lose sleep over that. And so when you say what have I done to make people, we just diversify portfolios and take just enough risk to get them what they need. If they only need to make 5-6% return and that totally floats their boat and doesn't deplete their principal, well, then we're only going to take enough risk to get them that. Why go way out here there's something called the efficient frontier model, which is Nobel Prize winning stuff, that shows there's a perfect amount of risk to take based off of the rate of return you should get. Okay. So we're always trying to be right on that line. We don't. Everyone's like, oh, what are you going to make me? How much money are you going to make me? That's a number 1 question that anyone asks a financial advisor. And I'm like, well, I don't know. How much do you need to make? And they're like, what do you mean need to make?
I need to make the most.
I need to make the most. And I'm like, well, why do you need to make the most? Well, because I said, well, that's fine. There's a gas pedal and a brake pedal in a car. Do you just mash the gas pedal to the floor the whole time? Or do you drive with both of them and try to navigate the windy road so you don't fly off the cliff into the ocean, right? And that's what we're trying to do, is get you happily to your destination. And some people want to take more risks, some people want to take less risk. But 85 to 90% of my clients easily don't want to take any risk. You ask any retiree if they're a big risk taker, they're like, no.
Well, and I've always heard be riskier when you're younger, right? Because I can earn it back.
Yeah.
Don't be risky when you're 60 or 70 because you can't go make it again.
You can't make it again. They only got this $1 million to their name, and they can't afford to lose it because that's how they got to pay their mortgage or their phone bill or whatever, or eat, And most people want to leave something to their kids if they have something, So, we want to make sure it goes to their kids. it doesn't get taxed like crazy when it does happen. Make sure their trusts are in place, their estate plan is in place. There's a lot of moving parts to retirement. Everybody thinks it's just an investment. Oh, I'm going to roll over my 401k. You're going to manage my investments. And they quickly realize that that's like a third of it. The other 2/3 is all the other things I'm talking about,
Right.
And they're like, holy cow, we didn't know you did all that stuff.
It's a comprehensive plan that you work
Extremely
up.
comprehensive, right? It's
That
like
might be an understatement.
mind-blowing, how comprehensive it is. And nobody gets that, really, because they've just been working and putting money in their 401k for 30 years, and they don't really think
Man, if you
about
could go back, if you could rewind the clock 30 years, and whether it was yourself or some of your clients now, like, what's a couple bits of advice you would give them at that point in time?
Oh, that's easy. That's you ask every single one of these clients that I have, well, how'd you get this $2 million? Well, it's the same story every time. I didn't spend more than I make. I paid down my debts. I lived within my means. I didn't get a new car every other year. I saved in my 401k regularly. Every time I got a raise, I increased that, So it's just, the
basics.
the basic stuff that's been written since the dawn of time, save your, 10.
I just don't think it's ever reinforced into our society. Like, I don't know now, but my kids haven't hit in that stage. They're sophomore and freshman in high school, but there haven't been any classes where they're like, balance your checkbook, save 20% every single month, no matter what. Don't buy junk.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
They
Live
don't
within your
teach
means.
that.
I like that. Live within your means.
It's not taught at all. It's almost, whatever, put on your tinfoil hat. It's almost by design. They want you to overspend and go and spend, because that keeps the economy going, I guess. I don't really know.
More money to get taxed on.
More money to get taxed on, but after I hear that story, live within your means, this and that, after you hear that same story 1, 2, 3, 10, 20 times, you're like, maybe there's something to that whole plan.
And look, you managed a lot of money, hundreds of millions of dollars, and the characteristics in there are those people that lived within their means, saved consistently over a long period of time, had an advisor that helped them and answered questions like, hey, what should I be doing right now? Hey, I mean, how much money over the years, this is rhetorical, how much money over the years have you saved them just in their tax exposure that's then been now able to grow in the market that they never would have had if they did this all by themselves? It's in hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars. So many people will leave their job and, there's only $20,000 in that 401k. I just cashed it in and bought a car or something. And you're like, what do you mean only $20,000? When are you going to get another $20,000?
Right.
Like that.
Oh, I'll make it back.
I'll make it back. You're like, okay, good for you. I tell everyone their light bulb goes on at different ages and different times, and I can talk to you for 5 minutes and figure out if your light bulb has gone on or not. That's your financial light bulb, and I can tell that you get it. You're like, oh, I'm not getting any younger. I don't want to work forever. Saving is probably a good idea. Living within my means. Buying the car that I can afford, not the car that I want. Like, as soon as you start talking to a person like that, it's pretty. And that light bulb can go on at 18 years old. It can go on at 30. It can go on at 50. And I got clients in their 60s that's never gone on yet. They're still just blowing money. Like, it's paycheck to paycheck, and you ask them about retirement, and they look at you cross-eyed. They're like, what do you mean? There's a paycheck coming next Friday.
Here's one I'd love for you to explain, is the law of 72.
Oh. The rule of 72 says if you take the interest rate you make divided by 72, that tells you how long it takes your money to double. So if you take 9% divided by 72, it takes 8 years for your money to double, And so that's just the rule of 72 in the form of savings, but also that's how mortgages are designed, the rule of 72. Like, everything kind of comes around this whole, I don't know who came up with that or where it is. It's just some financial piece of mathematics that's come out of something.
It's the one, though, just like that. If you said, hey, live within your means and learn the law of 72 of compounding interest, it's like magic. Like, I'd be in a rush if someone taught me that, but then I understood it and learned it. I would be in a race to hit a higher number in the bank by 30, so that if it was, let's say it was a 10-year double, so it was 7%, and the 7% into 72 gives me 10 years, so it doubles every 10. Well, that means by the time I hit from 30 to 40, that money doubles. From 40 to 50, that money doubles. From 50 to 60, that money. I think a lot of people missed a double or two because they learned not too late, but later on, that principle, that rule, and then we're able to apply it.
Oh, completely. It's in your favor if you can actually. The hardest part about saving is not touching it. Most people save to spend, right? They accumulate $10,000, they go on a trip, or they buy a new TV, or they use it as down payment for a car, because it's too accessible most of the time. They keep it in the bank, or the best way to accumulate money, in my opinion, is to feel broke all the time, right? You want minimal money in your checking account all the time. You get that ATM receipt and it says $347. You're like, wow, man, I guess I got to go to work still tomorrow,
Motivated
right?
to go get work,
Yeah.
but that money's invested somewhere.
Somewhere the money's over here,
Yes.
and you're not. It's letting a guy like me build it for you, Whereas if you get your ATM receipt and it constantly says $25,000 on it, well, then you're like, oh, I'm good. I'm
Comfortable.
I'm comfortable. I'm flush.
Comfortable.
Like, oh, yeah, I guess I can go to that nicer dinner tonight. Why not?
Yes.
And so, yeah, like the fastest way to accumulate money, is to feel broke all the time and then and save it. And you can always get it back, but it's best to have a plan. I'm a big plan guy, like that's what I do for a living, is figure out how are we going to get there? Do you want to work forever? Is that your story? And
so now you're at a time when you're handling these, I'll just say older clients because they're retired, but they could have retired at 50 and retired at 65, right?
So you get this 60 or above, yeah.
But most have kids.
Yeah.
And obviously you have the kids too. But you've put together this plan where you're showing people how to put their kids through college for free. Can you kind of explain that?
Yeah, right. Sounds too good to be true. And I don't know if I'm even allowed to use words like that in compliance. But at the end of the day, when you look at how it works, I've got two boys in college right now, a sophomore and a senior at NAU, and it was, I started looking at college like every parent, or at least they should, like what's your story? You've got to, you've either got to go to college, or everything's cost so much more in this world. Inflation, right? Everything's double, triple the cost, and everybody is just really concerned about it all the time. Like, how am I going to pay? How can I afford a house? How can I put gas in my car? And well, that's not going away, right? It's only going to get worse, probably.
Right.
I wish it would get better, and there's a lot of presidents that are trying to tell us that it will, but I don't know how it will. And so we're trying to make sure that you are not going to be a victim down the road. And so we want to make sure that you either choose. You don't have to go to college. There's lots of ways you can be an entrepreneur. You can be an electrician.
Trade.
A trade.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to college. But you got to pick one. You can't. Well, I don't know. I can't tell people what they can or can't do, but I suggest you pick one, because.
But you also want to be able to pick one, because what if your kid's like, hey, I would like to go to college, and you're not in a position to do that.
Oh, right.
So you at least want to have the option.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I've talked to so many kids right now that are graduating, my kids' friends and whatnot, and they're like, oh, I'm not a school kind of guy. I'm like, okay, cool, then trade, like I can get you an internship with an apprenticeship to be an electrician. And they're like, oh, well, I'm going to climb through attics at 110 degrees. Yeah, I'm not into that either. I'm like, okay, so you're not into that, and you're not into college. Like, what are you into? Is it just magically going to come to you someday? Like, okay, maybe it will, maybe it won't. But I recommend picking one,
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to realize, kids that go to college make it's proven fact, you make significantly more money than people who don't. There's tons of documented things, and I'm not here just touting people to go to college, but I'm just saying you got to better yourself. From age 5 on, if you saw one of those guys spinning the signs on the corner, you seen those guys?
Yeah.
You ask my kids what's up with those guys, and they say they didn't go to college. Like, to this day, they'll tell you, oh, that guy didn't go to college, right? It's like a joke. I started with them at that young age. So when they got to, high school age, they just assumed they were going to college. And, so in Arizona, if you get A's and B's in high school, NAU gives you this thing called a lumberjack scholarship, and U of A and ASU have similar programs as well. But I'm familiar with the NAU one because both my kids go there and I went there. And so I love
Go
Flagstaff.
Jacks.
Yeah, go Jacks. And so if you get A's, predominantly A's, like 75% A's and 25% B's, no C's, they give you a 100% tuition,
Wow.
$45,000 scholarship, 4 years, paid. Both my boys got it.
Congratulations.
It's like, really? It was, luckily, I guess I don't know, they could take, high school wasn't hugely difficult for them, you know? I mean, they went through it in COVID, right? COVID was horrible for some things, but for school, in my opinion, it was the best thing ever. They let them retake every test. Everything was open book. You're like, how can you not get an A, right? You know, it was like a given. So we'd maximize that, right? You'd get A's and B's, bam, both of them get scholarships. So now you're going to college for no tuition, but you still got to pay room, board, you know, all those other things.
Yeah.
Food. And so I remember back when I went to college, my friend's dad had bought a house, and I lived with them and paid rent. It was a nice house, nicer than the dorms or some of the other student housing that I could have lived in. And I always just thought I was so lucky that I got to live in this house that was my friend's dad owned it, you know. And then when he was done with college, he sold the house for a profit. And I always look back on that, you know, being a financial advisor, I'm like, that's how you do it. You know, you're going to pay rent for 4 years anyway for your kid. The average price in Flagstaff is $1,000 a room. Okay? So like if you got a 3-bedroom house, that's $3,000 a month rent, right? And we're talking shoeboxes. These are 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom houses that are not amazing, you know. The school has deals that are $1,000, $1,200, $1,300 a month, you know, that are basically dorm rooms with a bathroom in it, you know, so it's expensive for that part of it. And if you're going to pay that money anyway, why wouldn't you go buy a house, have your roommates pay you rent, which is ultimately paying the mortgage or somewhere close to it maybe, and then at the end of the college, we sell the house for an appreciated value most of the time. I mean, anything can happen, right? I mean, the market could go down or whatever. But if you give it 4 or 5 years,
long term, yeah. Most
of the time, real estate, you know, even in 2008, real estate was back within 2 or 3 years, you know, and so, you know, that I looked at that, and so that's what I did. I bought a rental house for my kids, paid $300,000 for it, you know, dumped a little bit of money into it. It's worth $450,000 now, 3.5 years later, right? I'm like, okay, not
Great
only
investment.
are my kids going to college for free on the scholarship, I'm gonna sell this house for a profit. We're gonna make money on college.
Wow.
Right?
Making money on college.
Making money on college. No student loans, you know. Yes, this isn't for everybody, right? You have to have the means to, not everybody can just go out and purchase a rental house. This is not for everybody. Owning a rental property has its risks, right? You've got, if you're a landlord, some people just can't wrap their brain around being a landlord. You know, that's just not in their repertoire. Yeah. And I get that. It's not for everybody. But, you know, if you have some guidance, if you have an advisor, some people you can lean on, you know, you got a good mortgage guy that can help you get the mortgage. You got a good realtor that can help you find the place. You got your financial advisor who's like, okay, yeah, no, actually, I see that working. You know, let me show you what that does to your retirement plan and what that does. And actually, you know, that's a good way. You know, rental income, if you do it right, as you know, the house can be depreciated. You're not paying taxes on it, you know, whereas if you got that money in an after-tax account, you get a 1099 every year that you're going to pay taxes on that. There's a lot of benefits to owning real estate. Yeah. And so...
Do you think you'll keep that house after?
I don't know. It worked out so good on the first one. I own 5 more. So I got a whole bunch of them in Flagstaff now.
All up in Flag?
Yeah, I just kept taking the equity out of that one and buying another one and another one, and so I got a 5-year plan. When the kids are totally done with school, you know, they're going to school to be financial advisors. They're getting their CF certified financial planner programs in school, right? Like they offer that as a curriculum.
Wow.
Like I'm guiding them. The guidance I never got I'm able to give to
You
them.
accelerate their
Yeah,
career.
they're going to graduate with initials after their names and, come in and be interns. They've already been interning for me. One of them has, the older one, and ultimately take over my business. So, okay, now
Wow,
we've
what a
got a
cool
financial
exit.
planning business and we've got a real estate portfolio. It's like
Yeah.
I didn't set out to do that, but it's gone that
It started that
direction.
direct. Yeah.
Yeah.
How
So
many?
will I keep
What's
them? I don't know. I'm just going to look at all the tax benefits and what it costs me to sell or buy, or
Yeah.
maybe I love Flagstaff myself.
I was
I
gonna
might I
say.
might probably sell some of them or all of them and actually buy a house that I can stay in. I go to Flagstaff, I got to stay in a hotel or my van or something, right? So it would be nice to actually have a place I could use.
That is great.
But yeah, no, I've seen that. I've seen it work, and I've got another friend who's doing it as well. He's like, hey, how'd you do that? And I kind of just I said, here, it's not for everybody.
Here's the blueprint.
Here's the blueprint, though.
Yep.
And putting together this blueprint for college for kids and showing them what degrees they can get, where you're there. If you get initials after your names and you choose the right degree, you're going to get a job. Like if you get a psychology degree, good luck with that. But if you go get a business degree and emphasis in finance and get a certified financial planner designation, Merrill Lynch, anybody's going to hire you,
They'll pick
right?
you
You'll
up.
be an intern or whatever, but at least you're
Yeah.
going to just get a leg up above everybody
Do they both
else.
want to work for you right away?
They do. They do. They both see. Well, like any kid, right? They just see me, the fruits of it at this point. They haven't
True.
seen the 20,
True.
the
You haven't put them in
30
the boiler
years.
room yet?
Yeah, they haven't been in the boiler room yet, right?
Is there anything to saying, hey, I want you to go spend 6 months at this other spot just to learn some stuff
we
and
have
make some
definitely
calls?
talked about
Yeah.
that because that I think would be very helpful because I'm still dad, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to take advice from dad or
Yeah.
orders even.
Yeah.
And so we may do that, but I'm at the point where I really need them, and I kind of want to hone them into
run
the
it,
business right out of the gate because it's either hire somebody else right now. Or hire my own kids, which are all going to get it when I croak one day anyway. So why wouldn't I
Hire 'em now.
Why hire them now and just fine tune them into that? And if I had the ability, when I got into New York Life in the beginning, my good friend from college, his dad was an existing New York Life agent who was very successful, and he was able to help him and coach him in some different ways. And let's just say he wasn't out there at 110 degrees knocking on doors trying to sell life insurance, right?
Right.
As much as I was.
Yeah.
And if I can give my kids that leg up to where they're not beating on doors, then that's going to be better for all of us, really.
I don't know, but that kind of strengthened your certain muscles for you, right?
Yeah. Completely.
Something to be said for that.
Yeah, it is. And so, because my big problem when I started, I didn't have any money, right? Because I was just a fledgling professional with no book of business yet. So everything I did was, how much does it cost? What does it do? Whereas now, not only do I know how to market, I have the money to go pay for it. Right now, I'm not paying for any marketing because I can't take any more clients than I'm
Right.
getting. Right? It's almost I'm
You
maxed.
built it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now, if I actually did the marketing, which I know how to do, and I know these niches that I could go after, I mean, bam, I could easily hire 2 more advisors to make it all happen, and it might as well be my kids.
I love that.
So they see that, and we've had this talk a lot of times, and they're networking in college. They're both in fraternities. All their parents have money, right? It's all networking in this life. Who do you know, right?
Who do you know?
It's not just what do you know, which that's key is what do you know, but it's the other half of
But
it.
then it
Who
becomes
you know.
who do you know?
Who do you know? And,
Yeah.
and so we're trying to just fine tune their whole program with, hey, make sure you don't put that on the internet. You need to uphold this image. And I want them to be kids still. I'm not like
Yeah.
ruling their life, but I am showing them the bigger picture all the time. Like, hey, this is the direction you're going, and if you want to go that direction. And they love it, actually, because it's like pretty easy to just follow something.
Well, it gives them a plan and a purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
So other than the, hey, here's your how to put your kids through college for free or subsidized plan,
yeah.
are there other things that you're sharing with your clients now? Any hacks or?
As far as the retirement planning thing is a really big deal for people. And if I can get a hold of them at least a couple of years before they retire, I can start spoon feeding it to them versus the one who just thinks they don't need me until the day they retire.
Yeah.
And which is a lot of them, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they just like, oh, well, what is he going to do for me? He's not going to make me any more money. And I'm already maxing out my 401k and I see I'm on a trajectory already.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're like, well, you don't see all the other things. So the hacks are, you know, look at the taxes, look at how much you're saving. Should you do Roth 401k? Should you do the traditional 401k? What are your funding vehicles? If you are going to get an inheritance or this or that, how does that play into the whole role? You know, should you, you know, do you really need the tax deduction of a traditional 401k? You know, are you making enough money? Do you got a little side hustle that's making you some money and you're starting to pay some taxes on it, but you're not maxing out your 401k because you don't think that that's really going to help you, but you realize that, hey, if I would put $30,000 in that would lower my tax bracket to this, and then my side hustle would not be taxable now, you know?
Oh,
and there's
good.
so many other things. I mean, I'm not a CPA, right? I can't give tax advice.
Right.
But I can show you the game plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And show you, hey, if you're trying to get to here, you know, and we're just constantly looking at clients' budgets. A budget is the biggest thing in the world, right? You got to write down what's coming in and what's going out. That's the only way. I call it keeping it between the navigational beacons, right? You know, like you want to go down the middle of the lake, don't hit the sides,
Yeah,
right?
those buoys are hard.
The buoys are hard. And yeah, so the hacks are just do a budget, talk to an advisor, a fee-based advisor, right? Because anyone else who's in the commission world, good or bad, I don't know, they have all they need to do is make a sale when they're talking to you. So that's
their intention.
That's their intention. They may not seem like it. They don't mean to do it. But at the end of the day, if you don't have any money to invest with them, then you're not making them anything. And so why would they give you any advice? You know. Mm-hmm. Whereas I've learned, hey, I've helped people for 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years before they retire for free ultimately, because I know that not only will I get their business when they ultimately retire, they're going to tell all their friends about this guy who has like really made an impact on their financial life, you know, and that's my marketing plan. That's all I do, and it works really well.
Well, it's extremely comprehensive.
It is.
Right. And I remember, you know, we would meet and you were showing me how you had, it's like a folder system of follow-up for the annual reviews for your people.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and it was reviews and you'd go over all their gains, but how the strategy was that you needed to put in place between now and, you know, the end of the year or the next call. And
right.
It was very just well thought out.
It's just me seeing what the end game is, right? Sadly, I got 2, 3 people a year dying, which is harsh, but it's reality of life. So I see how the game ends all the time. I'm like, wow, this guy was either broke or this guy died with $5 million and didn't spend any of it because he didn't have anyone guiding him on how he could actually afford to spend some of it, because so many people clamp down on their wealth so much because they're afraid of what if, and so they don't know. They see it growing, or they don't take a big interest in there. They got an advisor who grows their wealth, but he's not a financial planner, right? He's not a comprehensive wealth manager. He's just a money manager, and he does a great job. Maybe he's making you double-digit return, but he's not asking you, what do you want to do with this money?
Big picture,
how old are your kids?
plan.
Where are you going? What are you trying to do? What's fun for you? How's your health? What are all these things? You know, like the key to success, in my opinion, is if you have time, money, and health all at the same time, you're winning. So many people have money and health but no time because they're working too hard, right? Or they got money and time but no health because they worked too hard, they didn't go to the gym, you know, and all of a sudden they're 63 years old and overweight and on insulin or something, you know. It's like, okay, how we're trying to get you only have from 60 to 80 to really enjoy your money. The bulk of people anyway. You know, there's outliers that are over 80 that are still driving to the store and going on vacation, but that's a small amount of people.
Well, and that aftercare too, like, you know, I see people maybe even like our age that are like, hey, I need to put my mom in a home, or mom's going to stay with me, but I need to bring in care. And those nurses are expensive. Those care facilities are expensive. Those assisted living places are expensive. So you almost have to save up a portion of your money to take care of
That's I've got
those people.
any given time I'm giving out money for 5 to 10 of those people right now. The average cost is $5,000 to $10,000 a month. Cheap is $5,000.
Right.
7 is more realistic. It depends on what kind of care you need, memory care, this and that and everything. I've become an expert on that by not because I want to. I don't want that to happen to anybody, but you start asking all these questions and figuring out, okay, who do you need to care for? Who's going to be...
So there's allotment of your retirement. It's not just, hey, I need to be able to support my spending lifestyle at 10 grand a month. It's, I also need to be prepared because so-and-so might need care, and I need more than 5 grand a month because I can't put them in a place like that. So I need like 10. And then you're saying, well, then you need to have this much money set aside.
You have to have that much money set aside, right? Yeah, and we're looking at, the number. There's 3 things. I got tons of 3 things. I always go to this 3 thing. Number 1 is the money and how much you're making and rate of return. That's sexy, right? Everyone wants to talk about money, right? But the number 2 thing is healthcare. And if you make it to 65, you can get on Medicare supplement. That's very comprehensive, right? That's like pretty darn good, actually. The USA has very good health care for once you're 65. Up to 65, depending on if you work somewhere, that's good. But if you're a small business owner, good luck, But so health care. And then number 3 is elder care, some sort of care. Assisted living, long-term care, those sorts of things. And so those are the 3 things financially that are going to affect a retiree, your money, your health care, and your long-term care. And then, if you satisfy all those, then the 4th one, really the outlier, is your estate plan. How are we going to transfer all this wealth to your kids, to your wife? Are you a blended family? Do you have kids with different whatever? There's so many moving parts, and how do we keep Jennifer and Joey happy over here when I have a wife who's got her story over here, and we want everybody to keep coming to Christmas or Hanukkah forever, right? Like they need to like each other, right? And our goal, money tears everything apart so fast if you don't approach it correctly.
If you don't come to dinner, you don't get your next year's allotment.
Right. Gosh, man, I know I get real pumped up and serious about these conversations because it is so important, and people just don't think about it most of their life because why would you? You're working and you're living and you're raising kids and you're doing whatever you can.
But it just goes by so fast, and the one regret would be, man, I wish I had planned it sooner. And you realize that,
I've luckily had this problem with a number of clients who've, $3 million, $4 million or something, and that's more than enough to make their wheel go round. The interest that makes is more than they made working.
Wow.
And they've never been told that. They've never shown how it works. They take their $2 million divided by how many years they have left in life, and they figure that's not enough. I'm going to run out. But that they don't factor in compound interest, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so you're realizing, no, if that makes 5 to 7% return conservatively, that spins off, $250,000 a year. You make $120,000 a year. Like, why are you working? And they're like, what? Like,
I'm out.
I don't believe you. That's their number 1 thing is like, that can't be true, And then you show them, this is basic math right here. Let me show you that.
The math.
The math is the math. And then they're like, wow, I wish I had talked to you 5 years ago, which is the number 1 answer in that story, And then you're like, yeah, they're always afraid because the commission world has scarred so many people. They've been taken advantage of by someone trying to sell them something along the way, and so they got their guard up. They don't want to let a real advisor through the door who can get them to where they need to be. And that's usually the case. Why they won't let me in the door sooner.
Right.
Because they're like, well, I don't know, I bought this whole life policy from this guy, and it didn't work out good, and I'm like, okay, I get it.
Let me explain why.
Right,
There's a lot to get over and overcome there.
It is, and
that's why it's nice to have a referral-based business.
So true, yeah. Luckily, it's coming left and right from people who are, there's great wealth transfers happening right now. All these people, these baby boomers are turning, the age where they're starting, and this large amount of wealth is going to transfer to the next generation, and that's real estate.
Yep.
That there's massive amounts of real estate out there, and then we have, tax changes that are coming down the pipe. Is Or is your capital gain going to go from 15 to 20% to 28% or 30%? Are they going to start taxing unrealized capital gains? Are there, there's so many forms of planning that we're doing right now. I got clients liquidating stuff left and right now because they,
Don't know.
we have the tax plan that's in place is a gift, quite honestly, right now. The 400,000 and the 24% tax bracket, whereas just the last 2 presidents ago it was 26% tax bracket with 250,000, right? Like massive difference right now. And so you need to be converting to Roth IRA or pulling it out and buying a house or getting an RV or doing something with it other than just giving it to the IRS.
You either pay yourself or pay Uncle Sam.
You are.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fun to get. I'm a nerd for the stuff, right? I love it, right?
Yeah.
You put me in, coach. Like, give me your story. Like, give me all your data, and we'll run the plays, man.
I love it.
Yeah.
Dude, this has been great, man. I loved having you on. I could go for like another hour, but we're going to definitely have to have you back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks, Greg.
Yeah, it was awesome.
All right.
Thank you.